Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The Afternoon Update with Lynlee Foo.
Very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Industry Insight. Now, you've probably heard the phrase, the more internships, the better. But in Singapore's creative industry, that mindset is fueling something deeper and perhaps more troubling. Many young talents, some starting as early as secondary school, are being asked to work for free or burn themselves out, all in the name of exposure. It's a culture that sees internships as a kind of currency. You stack them enough, stack enough of them, and you might just be seen as serious enough to succeed. But at what cost? Unpaid internships and hustle culture are hurting the very pipeline the creative industry depends on. So what's driving this trend and what can be done to fix it? Joining us today is Pedro Aguirre, Community Development and Impact Director at Make the Change, which is an award-winning, purpose-driven social enterprise that empowers communities through inclusive design, creative education, and digital marketing for good. Pedro, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. My pleasure.
Welcome to the studio. Now, Pedro, you co-founded the Make the Change social enterprise, and I hear you are responsible for developing and implementing programs that improve community well-being. So in recent years, internships have almost become an arms race, especially among creative students in Singapore. Why are we seeing this kind of intensity?
Something that we're seeing is that many students are trying to build their portfolio, because if you're working in the creative industry, it's very important for them to have portfolio to showcase to the different clients. So that's something that is required. So many students are trying to look for it. And it's more than just resume, especially for the creative side, because yes, you can have a very nice resume, very nice grades, all different things. But what companies are looking for is what work have you created.
Okay, so it is true that internships have become a kind of currency in the creative world?
Yes, because portfolio is the most important thing.
Okay. How early are students entering this cycle? Are we seeing pressure start as young as secondary school? Is that the norm now?
Yeah. For our side, we're seeing a lot of secondary school students that are trying to do internships, especially because they want to build their skills. Because something that we're seeing is that many students, they come to us and they're trying to build their portfolio. And it's something that they cannot learn in school. So they're trying to get exposure, use their free time to learn.
Okay. It's often said that unpaid internships are just part of the journey. People say that, you learn as much as you can and get as much experience as you can. It's all part of the journey. But at what point does it become exploitation?
I think it's very thin line, but I think what we can see is if the company is being paid for the job that the students are doing, it's not fair. I think students should be paid for that, especially if, let's say we have a client and the client is paying us, then that part of that money needs to go to the intern. But if we're not being paid for the job that the students are doing, is more like a learning experience, like coming like a extra curriculum class, so they can come, learn, build their portfolio. So it's something like barter trade, so they can support us, and then we help in that case.
Okay. And what kind of work are interns being asked to do, especially in the creative field? Is it actual learning or simply just unpaid work?
So there are two types. At least for Make the Change, what we're doing is that when we host students, it's more a learning experience. So we have this Make the Change maker mindset. So basically we have different skills that we train the students with, and then with different activities. Like for example, we want them to develop creative thinking, empathy, all these different things. So we create activities for them to learn, and then they follow us in the different activities that we run in Make the Change. So that's one type of the job. So it's basically them learning something new, and then also observing how the team works. And there are other companies that I have seen cases that they really give just hard jobs to the students, and the students are just being exploited. And then they do a lot of work, and then they're not really paid for either.
Okay, so from what you've seen, how do young people themselves feel about unpaid internships?
Also, there are two ways. So once, at least for our case in Make the Change, they really enjoy the process because they see it more like an experience. They come and learn. So that's something that they sign up for, because we're not forcing the students to come. We're not like, okay, you come and you're forced to be here.
Yeah.
They apply to be there. So that's how we create the whole experience. We set expectations since the beginning of the internship. We tell them, okay, you're doing this, and these are the different tasks that you'll be working on. So it's very clear for them what they sign up for. I know for other cases, because the students come and they share other students that are more exploited, they just give them random tasks or very boring tasks, just to simple tasks that the staff don't want to do, they give to the interns. So that's something that I don't think is fair, especially for all the youth.
Okay. And do you see any changes happening at the policy or institutional level to perhaps regulate this?
What we're seeing is that there are many schools are trying to jump in and also get the students to do internships. So what we see there's two types. So one is that the students are the school counselor, all these different things, they selected the best students and they try to find companies that are working according to what the students are looking for. And then I think one of the changes that is starting to see, so the counselors are involved and then they select the students based on their experiences. So then, for example, they have this student that is very good in leadership or very creative. Then they will put him in a company that is working, that fits the requirements. And I think in the past was just the students need to find an internship and just do anything. So that's something that we're starting to see that is changing.
Okay. But from an industry standpoint, are employers unintentionally reinforcing this hustle mindset? Is this being baked into the hiring practices?
I think the hustle mindset is there as a Singapore culture itself, because I think the students are in a lot of pressure. They also need to stand out. The more internship you do, the more successful you will be, the better things you do. So I think that hustle mindset is already in the culture. So it's something that at least for our side, in Make the Change, we're trying to help the students to be more mindful of the things that they want to achieve in life, because they're still very young. So I know that the students are trying to learn and then get the skills. And then I think if you're a 16, 17-year-old, you don't know what you're going to be doing when you're older. So at least we see these internships as opportunities for them to go, learn, and then work in different cultures, different companies, different styles. So at least once they go to university, they will know, okay, this works for me, this one doesn't work.
Okay. But are we actually saying that the quantity of internships is being rewarded over the actual quality or substance or experience?
I think sadly, yes. Because many companies, when you, I should also say it as hiring manager, if you have a student or a fresh graduate that comes to you and they has a lot of job experiences already, then you say, okay, this student is better than the rest. Because something that we see is that some students are very smart. They can be very smart, have amazing grades, but then maybe their personal communication, all these things is not the best. So it's very difficult for them to get the job. So I think that's by doing the different internships, that's how they can stand out.
Okay. I'm just thinking, what role do hiring managers or even HR teams play in this whole culture, hustle culture? I
think the HR managers and the hiring managers, what they are doing is that they are promoting the people that has the most internships are the ones that are going to have the first interview or this opening doors. So that's also, the students indirectly know that. So that's why we have a lot of students that they're using their free time to volunteer and then to do internships. So just to put something in the resume. And something that we're seeing now is that there's two cases, like the companies that are really exploiting them. So they're just taking advantage of them, like free labor. Or other companies, like Make the Change, that we're trying to build a learning experience for them that is more meaningful. But sadly, it's not all the companies doing that.
Yeah, but it also means that this kind of system is unintentionally filtering out those who can't afford to work for free, right?
Yes. So that's very sad. Especially also, we have a lot of students from the top schools because they're very driven. They have more, like, the schools are pushing, their parents might also be pushing. So you can see all of them are really pushing for this internship hustle culture. And then when other students that not as advantaged as them, they don't have the benefit of doing internships and different things. So when they go to university or when they start applying for jobs, they will be in a disadvantage. So that's something that we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about consequences. What impact is this having on the pipeline of creative talent in Singapore?
So some of the consequences, there are two things that I can see. One is that some students are better prepared because when they go to work, they will be more prepared. They know how companies work, the company cultures, all the different things. So they will be easier to adapt to the different things. So that's one of the good things. But one of the bad things is that some of the students will be burned out because they're already working so hard with so little money. So they will say, okay, why I effort so much to work when this is not what they want to do? So that's how we see two of the things.
Okay, so what are the long-term ones for the industry if nothing changes?
I think if nothing changes, it's going to be the students that are more proactive, more hustle culture, they will be easier to find jobs. And the students that are more relaxed, all these things will be even more difficult to find their jobs because they cannot compete. Because if I go to applying for a job, let's say two students, they're both fresh graduates. One did 5 internships, they have a very nice portfolio, working with clients or different things. The other student maybe has good grades, but no work experience. If I'm looking for hire, I think I will give that a chance to the one that has more job experiences. because companies don't have so much time to train them, the learning and development, all these different things.
Okay, but on the whole, do you think that we're losing more creative talents, more creative voices that could have made an impact?
Yes, because many students, after seeing all this, they will say, okay, it's not worth it, because you're already in a disadvantage. So you know that when you apply for jobs, you're not in the same playing field as the normal student. So as other student, not. So both of them are competing for something that maybe the student with no internship is very good, very creative, but it will not have the opportunity because the other student has more work experience.
But are you seeing more younger people giving up on creative careers entirely because of this race for more internships?
Yes and no, because there are many people, they can find internships. There's not a lack of internships. So there are many companies, if they go and ask for internship unpaid, many companies will be willing to give them an opening door for them. But what we're seeing is that all these companies that are just exploiting them is not nice. So that's something that need to be a balance between internships that are unpaid and also the internships that are paid.
Okay, so let's flip this around. What would a more sustainable and inclusive creative industry look like to you?
I think a more inclusive one would be where students, school, and the industry come together and have a nice framework or a platform for students to have a level playing field. Like, for example, maybe some schools, what they can do, instead of letting the students to go and find their own internship, maybe the school can help, I'll select the whole students based on what the teachers' interactions, their grades, and different things. So then based on that, connect to the industry leaders, to the companies, and then these companies have a framework like, okay, yes, something that they can learn, because it's very important, they are there to learn, and also, in case they are doing work for clients, then also should be paid. So it should be a balance between schools and the industry to work together.
Okay, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Is simply paying interns enough? Or do we need some deeper structural changes in terms of how we look at mentorship, training, and entry-level work?
It needs to be more of the whole framework that needs to be created. Because just paying is not enough. Like I mentioned earlier, in Make the Change, we have this Young Change Maker program. So basically what we do is a framework that the students will have certain competences that we tell them from the beginning. You need to learn this. And after learning this, you will do this type of work and different skills. So I think if all the companies have something similar, a framework that the interns will come, they will learn something, then do work, and that will be better for the whole industry.
Okay, help me understand something, Pedro. How is Make the Change connected to creative industries? How do you connect with companies that are in this business?
Yeah, so we're also a creative agency. So in our business, we're a creative agency. And then we're also helping community development. So we're working a lot with schools. So that's why we're like the middleman between both. So we have a lot of students that are looking for exposure, internships. And then at the same time, we're also working with clients. So we're like the middleman.
I see. Okay, Pedro, what's your message to two groups? First, to young creatives trying to find their place in the industry, in the creative industry. And second, to companies still holding on to this hustle culture as, a badge of honor. They're almost proud of it.
So I think for the young students, that's the one that I feel closely with, is basically that you need to know what you want to do and find the right mentors and the right company that will help you grow your dream, because you're still very young. You're 16, 17 years old, 18 years old. It's very young. If you ask me, like when I was 16, 17 years old, what I want to do, I will never think like, I'm going to be doing this, what I'm doing now. So at least for the young people, my advice is to find a good mentor, find a good company that you connect with. You can see the different websites, see the management, the type of work, the company culture, and you say, I really like this, maybe contact them. And most probably the company will allow you to do internship. So that's one side. And then for the industry partners and the different creative agencies, it's basically we would like to have a framework. So don't use the interns as a cheap labor. Like, yes, I will get intern, then I will get them to do random tasks that my staff don't want to do. So they should have a framework and a learning and development program. So the students will come in, then they will be able to bring benefit to the company, but also they will learn something.
Okay, final question, Pedro, before we let you go. If you could change one thing in how the creative industry engages young talent, what would it be? I
think something that I would like to change is to be more genuine, because I think when people is applying for internship or stuff, sometimes the creative industry is not as genuine as it should be. Like, I think when you need to be clear what are the expectations that the interns need to do, what are the different learning, all the different things. So the more open you are, the better the experience the interns will have.
Thank you so much, Pedro, for your insights today. It's been quite an interesting conversation about hustle culture and free internships. Thank you so much. Pedro Aguirre from Make the Change, which is a social enterprise that empowers communities through inclusive design, creative education, and digital marketing.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Industry Insight. I'm Lynlee. You've been listening to Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.